we are joined now by a man who was an All-Star, Gold Glove Award winner, three-time World Series champion, and hit some of the biggest Yankees home runs of the past 15 years, and is currently the head coach at Linfield College, where he's led the Wildcats to the first national championship in school history. Scott Brosius. Scott, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good. All right, let's start with 1998. We'll go back to your playing days. It was your first year in the Bronx, one of the best single-season teams in Yankees history, and you had by far and away the best season of your career. You blasted a home run off Trevor Hoffman to pretty much put the series away and appropriately had the final put out of the season. When you think back on 98, what's the lasting image that always comes to mind for you?
Oh boy, lasting image. Honestly, I think it's the dog pile at the end of the year. As a kid growing up, all I ever wanted to do was be a professional baseball player, and in the backyard, that's what we used to do. We try to catch the final out or hit the home run to win the World Series, and so literally kind of grew up dreaming about that moment. As a player. Before coming to New York, I would watch the World Series, and when you'd see those guys celebrate at the end of the year, you always try to put yourself in that moment and ask yourself what it would feel like. So I think I remember that more than anything else, just how joyous and just what that moment felt like when we got that last out.
Now, we all know the scenarios that played out in Games 4 and 5 of the 2001 Fall Classic with the Bombers going for a fourth consecutive championship. But what's always stood out to me is that Major League hitters don't seem to have an easy time hitting off of submarine pitchers. So walk us through the at-bat against Byung-hyun in the ninth inning of Game 5. Particularly, you went 0 for 2 against him in Game 4 with that release point and everything. How difficult was that process for you?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of the submarine guys, the sidearm guys, I think the release point, the movement of the pitches is something that's it takes an at bat or two to start to see it a little bit better and get a little bit more comfortable. And so I think in some ways, the at bats the night before really did kind of help, and there was some benefit there, having seen them already a couple times. And the night before, in all honesty, I'd actually hit a ball that just ended up going foul. That might have been a home run the night before, and I think my second at bat. And so I was starting to get a little bit more comfortable in terms of seeing his release point and seeing the pitches. And so, no question, I think that certainly helped. Having two at bats the night before, and then all of a sudden get to see him the next day. And I was seeing the pitches again a little bit better, and he just left one, in the middle of the zone, and a good pitch to hit.
Now, speaking of Kim, do you ever look back and feel bad for the kid? I mean, all competitiveness aside, as Joe Buck said at the time, it bordered on the surreal. I mean, Tino, Jeter, and yourself did quite a number on Kim over the span of 2 nights.
You definitely put yourself in the other guy's shoes, and you understand how he feels. But it's a man's world out there. I don't think anybody was too upset when, in Arizona when they walked us off in Game 7 in the bottom of the ninth.
Right.
Games are you play them to win, and I think each and every one of us can remember some good times, but I think we remember, in all honesty, some of the harder times as well. And so you certainly put himself, you put yourself in his shoes and go, man, ouch, that those are tough times, but you don't dwell there because that's a part of the game, and all of us have faced those type of adversities.
So let's skip ahead to today. You spent 4 seasons with the captain playing to your left, and though it goes without saying you cannot replace Derek Jeter, how do you like Didi Gregorius as the man Brian Cashman has picked to do it?
Yeah, you don't. You're right. You don't go out there and try to replace and try to say, okay, this is our next Derek Jeter. You look at a player that fits the needs in terms of where the team is at now, and I think you have to find somebody that mentally is going to be able to handle New York, and then some of the questions that are certainly going to come, when you're replacing them. They had it last year with Robertson trying to replace Rivera, and now with him, and I think that's great. You go out there, you find somebody who's a solid player, defensively really good player, good citizen from all the reports, and not somebody that they're going to look at and try to make comparisons. I mean, he's his own player, and so I think he'll do great there. I think the organization, the fans, the players will, having been there and been a newcomer into that organization, I know how they treat guys coming in, and I think he'll be welcomed, and hopefully will feel comfortable real early.
Now, you came from the small market A's and finished with the big budget of New York. What always stood out to me about the Yankees teams you played for were that while they had stars, most of their best players were homegrown, and they had role players who would come from other teams, not just superstars, yourself, Chad Curtis, Luis Sojo, Shane Spencer. Which brings me to my question. Do you feel a team has a better shot with superstars or role players when it comes to competing for a championship?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, honestly. It depends. You know, the game has changed over the years a little bit. There seems to be so much more emphasis on power pitching, power hitting. You know, if you look at our team, you know, the one thing that we had is we had a solid lineup of good hitters, but we didn't have anybody in our lineup that was leading the league in home runs. You know, RBIs maybe. You know, Bernie I think won a batting title. Mm-hmm. You know, there was on base guys, there was average guys, and guys who were really good situational hitters, and that has seemed to get lost a little bit in there. And I think that's I think good lineups have a balance of some power, no question, but also some on-base guys and some situational guys that when you're facing the staff aces in the playoffs, you have to be able to scratch and claw and find a way to score some runs, and it's not always going to happen by the home run.
Now, as things stand at the moment, do you believe the Yankees are contenders in 2015?
I think the Yankees are always contenders. They have the ability to you know, put themselves in a position to compete. I think like they're certainly not a team that you look at right now and say they don't have any holes. There's a lot of question marks. Some of it might be age and health, things like that. So they have some questions that certainly have to be answered. But there's no question they're a team that can be in a position to compete right away.
And then let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now, coaching Linfield College. You've been named Coach of the Year multiple times. You've appeared in the NCAA Finals back-to-back years, won a national championship. What are your expectations of the Wildcats heading into the 2015 season?
Yeah, this year's team is going to be interesting in the sense we've been pretty spoiled here in terms of our team the last few years. We've the team that won the national championship 2 years ago, we won it primarily with sophomores on the mound and juniors in the field. We returned to the national finals last year, weren't able to win it, but we did that with a lot of seniors in the field and juniors, you know, on the mound. And so our pitching is pretty in place. We feel, you know, pretty good, pretty confident that if we're healthy, we're going to pitch it pretty well. We just have a lot of holes to fill. Offensively, we graduated basically our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters. You know, so we lost a lot of thump in the middle of the lineup, a lot of great players at our level, and so we need some younger guys to step in and to be able to grow up kind of quick and be able to fill those roles. And if we do that, then there's no question our pitching will keep us, you know, in every game that we play. So we're kind of a similar team, I think, right now, and we'll see how it plays out. To my first year here in 2008, we pitched it very well. We're a great hitting team, but we were able to win the conference and the regional and get to the World Series really on pitching and defense.
Now, with your big league experience and success as a coach, I'd have to imagine some major league clubs have expressed some interest in you as a manager. Is that something you aspire to, managing in the majors?
You know, I don't know in terms of managing in the big leagues. I think, you know, right now coaching here at Linfield, I've had some great experiences getting on the field to manage. Coaching the USA team, the 18-under team for a couple of years has been a great experience. And, you know, with my youngest son being a senior this year in high school, I think things probably will change for us a little bit. I'll be able to start looking at maybe some opportunities that I didn't feel like it was timing-wise appropriate to do while my kids were in school. And so whether that leads to, you know, a professional job or another coaching job somewhere, you know, I think I will start to see what's out there. And you know, I'm sure I don't think many make the jump from a college, you know, head coach straight to a you know, professional managerial type spot, but It'd be, I think, a great, you know, experience and opportunity to, you know, get onto a staff again and coach at some level professionally.
All right, well, Scott Brosius, thanks a lot for taking a few minutes to talk with us. Have a happy New Year and good luck this coming season.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and Happy New Year to you as well.
All right, take care.